I'm Tom Felton, and you're watching MTV at the Movies.
Welcome back to a very special edition of MTV at the Movies. I'm here in Hogwarts, and the final battle is about to begin. It's every man, woman, and child against the evil Voldemort and the Death Eaters. The Dark Lord and his followers are everywhere.
Ask yourself this, Potter. What if the man you thought you knew never really existed?
With a little help from Dumbledore's long-lost brother Aberforth, Harry, Ron, and Hermione manage to sneak back into Hogwarts Castle, which is now under Snape's control. But Voldemort somehow finds out, and he gives the school an ultimatum. Hand over Harry, or else.
Do not despair of his betrayal. You, none of you, were ever in his heart.
So, how did the filmmakers approach choreographing what is arguably the most anticipated battle of all time? Let's find out.
It's actually quite exciting because we live with these kind of sets. In the courtyard we rebuilt outside because we had to do certain things that were not practical to do on the stage, and so we rebuilt it. We changed its shape very slightly and made it slightly bigger to accommodate the action that was required. But it's still the courtyard that you have become to know and love and will recognise. But in a way it was actually really exciting to start to blow things up and destroy things and knock them down, because it just was so different to anything we'd ever seen or done at Hogwarts before, that it's kind of exhilarating. I suppose it is a shame to see these basic works of art that Stuart's creations actually start to fall to pieces before our eyes, but at the same time it's fun, it's exciting, exhilarating.
You have a rubble-making team.
Is that true? It is true. Headed by Steve. We have a large rubble-making team, and we made tons and tons and tons, mountains of rubble. Because it's so important. The destruction of Hogwarts is, it's such a major feature.
You need a lot of rubble.
You need a lot of rubble, and you need enough rubble to make huge. You treat the rubble as a set, as a new set, in fact, and make big sculptural shapes.
Get inside! Take cover!
So what has been the biggest challenge with the battle scenes?
The battle scenes, I think, probably the biggest challenge was blowing up the courtyard. I mean, we had to do a lot of explosions throughout the second film for the destruction of Hogwarts. But we had one big scene where we actually blew up most of the courtyard out on the back lot. And that involved high explosives and fireballs and lots of debris. Lots of the stone guys running through the mayhem. So that one probably took most of the effort throughout the picture.
How much explosives did you have to use for that?
Difficult to put quantities on it, but there were probably something like 80 to 100 different charges all going off in 10 seconds.
Whoa, in a span of 10 seconds, all at the same time.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty intense.
Well, it needs to keep that pace going so that it looks very exciting and spectacular on film.
And it was exciting, I would take it.
It was pretty good, yeah.
It was actually really looked very desolate indeed. And we got the perfect weather for it. It rained and rained and rained, so the ground, like the Somme, it was a World War I battle, which is largely fought in mud. So it really looked fantastically desolate. Really desolate.
It feels quite haunting and apocalyptic. And there's some beautiful shots at night where you're just seeing silhouettes of broken buildings with tiny shadowy figures walking through, and there's something just shocking about having something that has this mythic value, I think, violated and broken. It has a power about it that resonates. And one of the most haunting images is Dan's walking down a staircase, and there's lots of rubble everywhere, but on the floor are strewn thousands of books just in the rubble, in the dirt. And that was actually quite a spooky image, just seeing books underfoot somehow. But we wanted it to feel apocalyptic, basically.
Much of what you see in the movie is helped by incredible visual effects, but you can't beat old-fashioned hand-to-hand combat. Okay, you've been with the franchise for 10 years. Can you tell me about the progress and the developments of the stunts and the actors through the years?
I mean, with the actors, I mean, they come in at that high, and they're up here, and they've come on bundles, from kids. With Chris Columbus on the first one, directing right the way through to David. They've come on huge amounts, and the technology the same in 10 years is, the flying broomsticks were very basic to start with, and now we're nearly flying broomsticks.
So as they grow older, obviously they can do more stunts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and they can become more intense.
Yes, they can. Yeah.
So what stunts were involved in the huge battle scenes?
Well, with Dan mainly, it's a hell of a lot of running they've been doing, running around the explosions and the explosions going off behind him, the fighting stuff. It's been flat out for him, really.
And no battle would be complete without a good helping of blood and gore. Okay, Amanda, what are you going to do for me today?
We're going to give you a black eye. You've been in the battle. And
yes.
We're going to give you a black eye as if you've been part of that battle.
So it's going to look real?
It's going to look real.
100%?
Yep, I'm going to turn you away from the mirror, and then we'll turn you back and you'll have a black eye.
Okay.
It won't hurt too much.
How do you incorporate the actors with the character?
When they first come in, the new actors come in, and J.K. Rowling is so descriptive in her characters and how they should look. We have very much a very good guideline and a feel of how they should look, and then as soon as we know who's been cast in that particular role, then immediately I would start to think about, how I would see them. And then they come in and we all have a big discussion with the costume designer and with David, and they're very good here about letting you all have your own input. So everyone's ideas are open to, and we'll try lots of different looks and see which everybody's happy with.
How many characters are you doing a day? I mean, the actors, on average, when they're shooting?
On average, we can have 5 or 6 actors a day each to make up.
Is that considered a lot for you, or that's average?
It depends. If you're sticking a beard, if you're doing Dumbledore, and you're doing Hagrid, and you're doing Harry, that will keep, you'll only do those 3 that day, because keeping the beards on in the heat, if Harry has lots of wounds, it's keeping all of that in continuity.
Okay, well, I was asking Amanda about the whole process with the makeup, but can you tell me the whole process with the wigs? I mean, does it take a long time for them to actually put it on?
It doesn't take too long. We usually get it down to a very quick time, just because there are so many characters to do, but it involves in getting rid of the actor's own hair underneath, flattening it completely, and then placing the wig on. Underneath this white tape is the hair lace. And once the wig is on, the hair lace is glued and pressed very firmly into the skin around your hairline. And then, hopefully, in an ideal world, it makes it disappear.
So how much hairspray did you put on Helena's hair to get that Bellatrix look?
That was a really big, time-intensive hairdo. It was a big wig that needs to be tongued and sprayed. And obviously we had a lot of scenes outside in the courtyard when it was wind and rain, and it was something that was a constant, ongoing thing every day. So there was a few cans of hairspray went on there.
Special effects are one of the crucial ingredients in making movies come to life. Have you ever wondered how much of what you see is real? Share with us a movie magic secret. What effects are there in the film that people think is real, but it's not?
There's a running theme all the way through. For instance, Hagrid is not 7'3". It's a simple thing, but he's a 6-foot actor, and for every single shot you see him in, we have to do a thing called scaling, where we shoot the actor later on green screen, and using motion control cameras we scale him to be 7'3", and then all the interaction between him and the other actors has to be believable. So he's always shot later, and Robbie Coltrane does a great job of acting on green screen, but hopefully nobody knows that and they just think it's a giant.
On a lighter note, in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, finally the moment we've all been waiting for, Ron and Hermione's big kiss. You see some action with your romance with Hermione, so do you actually get her?
we do. I mean, in the end, the final parts of these films, we kind of we're quite coupley. We're kind of holding hands a lot, and there's the kiss as well. So
The what?
yeah,
Did you say the kiss? All right.
Hermione does kiss Ron just after a life or death moment. So everything's really intense and crazy.
It sounds intense. Time now for a break. When we return, Harry and Voldemort face off, and we find out what has drawn these two enemies together for so many years.